Welcome back to Horror Movies.
Today, I will be showing you a South Korean horror sci-fi film from 2013 titled Flu. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The first scene shows a shipping container full of illegal immigrants being transported from Pyeongtaek to Bundong, South Korea. One of the immigrants starts coughing and appears to be sick. However, the container is taken out on its journey. In the next scene, a woman called Kim In-hae is engaged in a car accident in which her car falls into a hole. When the rescue squad arrives, Kang Ji-koo, one of the members, goes down to save her. Kim's skirt tears during the rescue, and Ji-koo offers his jacket to cover her. After successfully saving Kim, Ji-koo looks attracted to her and approaches her for a conversation, but Kim walks away with an attitude. The next day, Kim phones Ji-koo from the same spot where she had the accident, asking for his help in rescuing her bag from the hole. He initially refuses her, explaining that it is not something they do, but after Kim leaves, Ji-koo enters inside the hole and retrieves the bag with the help of his buddy. Ji-koo's friend searches through the bag's contents and finds an identity card, which confirms that Kim is a doctor. Soon after, the phone inside the bag rings and Ji-koo answers it. He gets to know that Kim's daughter, Mi-ru, is on the other end of the line. After that, Ji-koo speaks with Mi-ru and agrees to meet her after school. In the following scene, we see two brothers called Byung-ki and Byung-woo opening the container, where they discover all of the people dead except one. When the lone survivor approaches them to seek assistance, Byung-woo intends to eliminate him as well. However, Byung-ki refuses to do so and instead transports the survivor inside their truck. They pull up to a grocery store, and Byung-ki goes inside to get some groceries, while the survivor inside the truck takes advantage of the situation and runs away. When Byung-ki returns from the shop, he is unable to locate the survivor. He also notices that his brother in the truck is coughing very profusely, so he takes him to the clinic. There, the doctor tells him to have some medicine, but he can't stop coughing. It seems that he has already been infected with some kind of virus. Elsewhere, Ji-koo pays a visit to Mi-ru's school to bring her mother's bag, but Mi-ru refuses to interact with him since she was trained not to do so with strangers. However, she takes her mother's purse and Ji-koo's visiting card. As Ji-koo drives back, he hears someone coughing loudly on the bus next to his car. After that, we can see the virus slowly take over the city. At home, when Kim receives her bag, she is delighted and proud of her daughter. She also heartily thanks Ji-koo for his help. Kim then makes Mi-ru's favorite cuisine and later, receives a call from the hospital notifying her that she is dealing with an emergency. Kim then heads to the hospital, phoning her mother and requesting to watch after Mi-ru. When Kim arrives at the hospital, she notices that everyone is hustling around. She then walks up to Byung-woo, the patient, and notices that he is already in terrible shape due to the red rashes on his body. Kim believes the virus is a kind of avian flu virus. When the doctor discovers Byung-woo's phone, they find footage of the container filled with bodies and realize that the virus began there. The doctor then comes out to Byung-ki and inquires about the container, but he refuses to answer any questions. Suddenly, an emergency warning sounds, and Byung-ki hurries to meet his brother Byung-woo. He is afraid to see his brother's condition and tries to touch him, but the doctors stop him, fearing that the infection may spread. As a result, Byung-ki battles with the doctors and enters the ward, only to discover that his brother has died. He sobs while hugging his brother, causing his hand to be stained with blood, but the doctors manage to extract him. In the following scene, Mi-ru is saved from being hit by a vehicle by Masai, the survivor who fled away from the container. Mi-ru comes up to the survivor and seeing him hungry, gives him food. The survivor also introduces himself and warns Mi-ru to stay away from him since he is sick, but Mi-ru continues to approach him to speak with him. After a few seconds, Mong-sai starts coughing, and Mi-ru advises him to wait until she can get some aid. Mi-ru then calls Ji-koo for help. But when they return, Mong-sai is nowhere to be found. On the other hand, the city begins to be impacted by the virus as individuals begin coughing, resulting in a rise in the number of patients with comparable cases. The hospital personnel locate and incinerate the cargo container with the aid of the KCDC. On the other hand, rats that had been feasting on the bodies escape into the city. The next day, many more patients exhibit significant symptoms. The medical team determines that the dangerous virus is a modified H5N1 strain that may kill people in less than 36 hours and instructs the city to be quarantined. Rumors of the outbreak spread and people begin to panic. In the supermarket, where Ji-koo has taken Mi-ru for lunch, he saves a woman who falls from an escalator, but loses sight of Mi-ru. While criticizing the necessity for quarantine, administrators and politicians are faced with a disaster as individuals fall on the street, including drivers who cause a series of horrific collisions. During their argument, the infection spreads and hospitals overflow with affected patients. Hospitals and communication systems become overwhelmed, and the quarantine is initiated. Politicians and research personnel flee to Seoul to inform Prime Minister Lee Myung-bak, who makes a public declaration that worsens the fear in Budong. As they plan to evacuate the city, Dr. Kim tells her colleagues that she must get her daughter before they leave Budong. She attempts to call her daughter, but Ji-koo answers the phone and notifies her of the supermarket situation. She stays in Budong and teams up with Ji-koo to find Mi-ru. They eventually discover her in a looted grocery, where individuals are exhibiting symptoms and cops are attempting to restrain them. Before the steel shutters falls, the three manage to slip out. Later, Kim persuades Ji-koo to leave the city along with them, but he refuses to quit his duty and works with Kyung-yubi, his colleague, to release those trapped in the supermarket. Kim and Mi-ru make their way to the final chopper to Seoul, but Mi-ru displays signs of illness at the entrance, and they are denied entry. At night, the Republic of Korea Army, the United States Forces, and the KCDC reinforce the Budong quarantine. The residents are relocated to a camp outside of the Tanshan Sports Complex. Everyone must leave their homes and gather in the camp. Politicians and foreign physicians have concluded to test all citizens and have them segregated as infected or uninfected. Dr. Yang criticizes the decision and says that grouping infected and uninfected people together might lead to more dire repercussions, but other politicians tell him to remain silent. Those who show symptoms are quarantined in an infected quarantine zone, IQZ, beneath the stadium for medical care, but Kim knows that there is no cure. When she attempts to contact her senior doctor for assistance, he suggests that she present herself as a doctor within the quarantine zone. She sneaks Mi-ru through the examinations to hide her illness, and she keeps Mi-ru's mask on to prevent her from infecting others. On the second day, Masai, who appears to have recovered from the virus, is discovered in the congested isolation zone. Seeing his immunity overcome the virus, the doctor calls Kim to extract an antibody from Masai's body that may be able to treat the disease. Once Kim is successful in extracting the antibodies from him, Masai is confined in a separate tent for additional testing. Meanwhile, Kim's seniors reject her idea of injecting his antibodies directly into a patient. Later that day, while Kim tries to smuggle Mi-ru out of quarantine, the staff tries to locate Mi-ru using her tag number 2066, knowing the fact that she is infected. However, Ji-koo, concerned about Kim and Mi-ru, introduces himself as number 2066. As a result, the crew transports Ji-koo instead of Mi-ru to the infected zone. Later, his friend Byung-kub saves him by showing his ID card to the guards. Meanwhile, Kim enters the medical tent where Masai is being held. Even though her plan to utilize the antibody is rejected, she acquires it and begins a secret transfusion to Mi-ru, whose condition has worsened. The soldiers approach as Kim injects the antibody into Mi-ru. Soon, the troops are able to open the door and put Kim to sleep. Mi-ru's illness is also revealed, and she is sent to the infected quarantine zone. After that, Ji-koo witnesses guards transporting a child's body into the contaminated zone and assumes it is Mi-ru's. He pursues the men and discovers Mi-ru's headband along the way. Terrified, Ji-koo enters a vast hall filled with piles of seriously ill people. He realizes that even those who are not yet dead have been placed in plastic body bags. As he advances, he sees a horrible image of a crane grabbing a pile of bodies and dumping it into a burning pit. Ji-koo is concerned that the innocent Mi-ru could be among the deceased. Meanwhile, Kim is searching for her daughter in the contaminated zone. Elsewhere, Ji-koo is able to locate Mi-ru using the sound of her phone. He pursues the sound and discovers Mi-ru alive inside a body bag among the stacks of dead, about to catch fire. A communications blackout conflicts with gas mask wearing guards, random gunshots aimed to discourage birds from spreading the disease, and rumors that diseased individuals are being killed have all contributed to tension in the camp. The president is forced to breach a promise to release the uninfected after 48 hours due to pressure from WHO and politicians, resulting in the public getting panicked and engaging in fights. When an officer fatally shoots an infected soldier, a crowd erupts and rushes the IQZ. They watch Ji-koo save Mi-ru from a burning pile of bodies and fear the infected are being burned alive. Following that, the medical authorities choose to leave the chaos for another location. They also take Masai for antibody development. The authorities also ask Kim to tag along, but she declines, stating that she must rescue her daughter. Meanwhile, Byung-ki notices Masai and seriously injures him in an attempt to take revenge for his brother's demise. After failing to find her daughter, Kim reluctantly decides to leave the facility with the medical personnel. Ji-kyu notices Kim in the rushing ambulance, but he is unable to stop her. At the headquarters, the president and officials witness the city in utter turmoil. The president then advises the officials to wait for the antibodies to be developed to calm the agitated people. However, Masai dies as the ambulance arrives in Seoul, indicating that the antibody waiting to be developed is no longer available. Shortly, the headquarters receives word that Masai has died, forcing them to intervene against the outraged civilians attempting to enter the Seoul border. Afterward, Miru starts to feel better, and Ji-kyu brings her to the highway to meet Kim. However, the armed crowd is led to the roadway by Gu Kwan, an infected man who has been instigating trouble. Gu Kwan fires at Ji-kyu after learning that Miru has antibodies, leading in a violent gunfight between the crowd and the military. Ji-kyu hides Miru and goes to rescue other people. While hiding, Miru gets noticed by Gu Kwan and he takes her to a table, forcing her to give him the antibodies. Kyung Yubi notices him and tries to rescue Miru. Ji-kyu also arrives at the scene and eliminates Gu Kwan. Meanwhile, Kim arrives at the border and informs the president that Miru may have the antibodies and requests permission to bring her in. The president instructs the military to pause shooting to allow Kim to retrieve her daughter. However, Snyder, an international officer, goes on to direct the troops to shoot anyone who attempts to cross the border. Soon, Kim and Miru see each other on either sides of the border and sprint towards each other. While attempting to keep Miru from breaching the containment line, Kim is shot. Miru defends her mother and begs the armies to stop shooting at her. The crowd also supports Miru and shields her. The president tells the soldiers to disarm, and Snyder is forced to call off an airstrike. The movie ends as Miru is sent to Seoul to help create a vaccine while medical teams are dispatched to Budong. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.